When you select the image, don't just select the picture frame, select the actual picture inside of it. You should get the picture bounding box. When you control click, give it a second, you can edit with Photoshop. In our case, we definitely want Creative Cloud, not CS6. This will open your picture in Photoshop, and from here, this is where we're going to do the edits from here. The first one is I want to show you how to recolorize something using the gradient map method. I've got my layers, I've got my picture in the background layer. I've got my adjustments over here. Here's where the magic happens. The last adjustment is a gradient map adjustment. When I click on it, this is what it will look like. I've got a little properties palette I can work with. What it's doing is it's mapping the lights and the darks to a specific color. So if I double click on this, it'll bring up my slider, and you can see the way it looks. The reason why this looks like a negative image is because my lighter area is on the dark, my darker area is on the light. Watch what happens when I swap up the position of these two. Now it looks like a regular photograph. You can actually change up the color of them. In our case, we want it to be in shades of blue. If I click, I'll add another one. So let's add, double click, good mid-tone of blue. Hey, that looks kind of cool in itself. This one needs to be a darker shade of blue. And then this one, you can see all the highlights are pink. We'll just make this a light blue. Pretty cool. So now you can see how the darks, midtones, and lights are all there. I can say OK. Check out my layers. Notice my layers had their own little gradient map layer by themselves, so I can always turn it on or off and make adjustments with this. So that's the first one. Here's the next part of the magic trick. I open this as a JPEG. I need to save it as a JPEG, which means I need to get rid of all my layers. To flatten it, you can go to Layer, flatten the image, and now it's just one background layer. If I was to save it now, File and Save, it's going to save over it, same name and everything. And when I jump back into InDesign, check out what happened. It updated. That's what you want to see. You don't want to open it up otherwise and resave it and relink it. No, 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 no. Save it from InDesign. Let's do the same thing for this middle one. Select the image, Control click. We're going to edit it with, in our case, Photoshop. This one, we're going to use a different method. We won't have to worry about the adjustments. I'm going to add a solid fill color to the layers. You can find it under Layer. The new layer, fill layer, will be a solid color. It'll ask you for a name. You really don't have to give it one. And in our case, we're going to choose a red color. It can be lighter red or dark red. That one's okay. I'll say okay to it. The reason why I like to use a fill color, solid fill color, if I ever need to change the color, I can double click it and I can change it to whatever else from here. We'll keep it red. Say okay to that. From here, my red fill color is on top of my background. I need to change the blending mode to blend these reds with the background. Where do I find my blending mode options?
To the left where it says normal.
Where it says normal. It's in your layers palette where it says normal. Remember, if you change the blending modes, it'll show how this will interact with the other ones. So my red is being, in this case, burned or darkened into it or screened into it a little bit lighter. The one we're going to use is hue. Hue will give us this kind of effect. You can see it gives me some grays in there as well as also the colors and saturation. If I did just color, it would be all the same color. Hue gives me this effect. All right, and that's it. So I've recolorized this one from this to this. As with the other one, I need to save it as a JPEG. If I tried to save it now with all the layers, for instance, File and Save, it's going to ask me to save it as a Photoshop file, not what I want. So we're going to flatten it. Got rid of that one, and when we save it, everything looks good. Didn't ask me to rename it. Jump back into InDesign, and now you can see it's changed up that's color. So far, so good. Last one. This one's a little bit more tricky. Again, open it up in Photoshop. Edit with, Photoshop. For this one, I want to take advantage of the computer's ability to pick out grayscale and gray color tones. Right now, this image mode is RGB. What does RGB mean? Red, greens, and blues. So the values that it has are values of red, of green, and of blue. If I change it to grayscale, it's going to ask me to discard the black and white. Now it's just, there is no red, green, and blue. It's just lights and darks, blacks and whites. There is no other values to it. I've actually changed the algorithm to it. From here, I'm going to save this, instead of as a JPEG, as a TIFF. TIFF will save all of the black and white information with it, as well as not compressing it. So now you can see there's TIFF as the format. And I'm going to save it in the same spot. Hit save. And we'll do OK to that. Close it out and jump back into InDesign. Why didn't it turn black and white? It's not a JPEG. That's part of it. Not just any JPEG. Why didn't this turn to black and white, though?
It's a different file now.
It's a different file. I've got to replace this one. So, file in place, drop it in, and I've got it on the desktop somewhere. There it is. Under the links, there's that TIFF that I created. I'm replacing the JPEG that was there. Ah, there it is. Okay, here's the fun. Here's the magic trick of this one. I'm going to select the picture. What color is the picture?
Black.
Black. Watch what happens when I change it to something else, to blue. Ooh, what happened?
It changes the black to blue.
Changes all the dark pixels, the black pixels, to whatever your fill color is. In this case, blue or green or whatever that you need it to be. If I wanted to change the lighter pixels, I'm going to select not the picture, but the frame itself. What color is the frame? None, no color. Let's give it a color. In this case, we'll do purple. Ooh, there it is for there. So the grayscale, remember this is not RGB, it's grayscale, gives you the ability to control the lights and the darks based on the frame color for the lights, in this case, yellows, or the picture color for the darks. In this case, we'll make it like a dark purple. And it works out from there. And so you'll change and convert those with that. Any questions on that? There's 3 different methods for changing the color of pictures. When you're finished with each of these, save them as a PDF. You can go to File, Export, and smallest file size. Those PDFs are what you'll upload to Moodle once you get finished. All right, I'll turn it back over to y'all.